Okay, so good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to your project webinar by Leo Crowdfunding. I'm delighted you could join us tonight, and we're going to be doing a 33-minute webinar tonight, slightly shorter than it usually is. And as we we're just talking about there, apparently there's some small football match on or something in England, and no doubt a lot of you want to go and watch England hopefully get through to the final of the Euros. So let's get started straight away into it. First of all, let me welcome Hietesh, Brenden and Michelle. Delighted to have you on tonight.
Thank you so much, David.
And we've got our resident Chief Operating Officer, Tony Allner, in the background, keeping an eye on things and the questions. How are you, Tony?
Ready, willing and able.
Excellent, excellent. Fantastic. So I daren't ask maybe, but I have to ask. So I'm assuming you're all heading to watch the match after the webinar. I know you are, Hietesh, anyway.
Depends on a lot of factors.
No problem. And Michelle and Brenden, I don't know you. I suppose you're not going to be.
We become a football mad household, so we'll be there.
Yeah,
supporting England.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. I know Tony's definitely on his way. As soon as the finish button ends on the webinar, Tony's out the door to go and watch it. So listen, let's get straight into it tonight. So this is a project webinar for Hightown Leyes in Banbury. My name is David Johnson. I'm the CEO of Leo Crowdfunding. We're an equity crowdfunding platform. And first thing we always do when we kick these webinars off is a little bit of compliance housekeeping. So it is important that you recognize that we are talking about investment tonight. We as a platform do not give any financial advice. We are simply sharing information with investors, and you can review the information and make a decision for yourself if this is an investment that you may want to invest in. So we do encourage you to go to our platform and have a look at the full risk warning. And if you go along the bottom of the slide, you'll see there that Leo Crowdfunding, and there's our FCA FRN number. We are an appointed representative of Sharing Limited, which is authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. Pitches for investment are not offered to the public, and investment can only be made by reviewing information provided by Leo Crowdfunding. So that is the, if you like, the disclaimer. Capital is at risk, returns not guaranteed with investment. So have a look and make your decision from there. Now, we also are very much geared to education. And once again, this project tonight is part of our Learn, Earn, Own process. And what that means is that investors can invest from as little as £100 and effectively be part of the project, learn from Hietesh and Brenden and Michelle, see how they put this project together. And really, you've got a front row seat and learning how this type of project is put together. And you can learn the lessons, what went well. If there's any challenges that arise, then you can see how they were dealt with. And it's a really good opportunity to learn, earn, and own. So summarizing the project tonight, Hightown Leyes in Banbury. This is a JV project between Hietesh and also then Michelle and Brenden. You'll hear from them in a minute. The projected return is 20% per annum. Okay, this is an estimated 7-month project, but bear in mind it's a 20% per annum return. So if it is done in 7 months, then the ROI is calculated on a pro rata basis. Planning has been approved for this dwelling, and we go live on Thursday, the 15th of July at 12 noon. So next Thursday, the project will be live for investment. So straight into it, we'll let each of the guests tonight introduce themselves. So Michelle, over to you first, please.
Hi, I'm Michelle Van Rooyen, and I look after the landscaping and the interior design. My interest is particularly on making it practical, but still attractive, depending on the functionality of the particular home. And in this project, we're looking at probably a young family moving in or family-orientated living. My background, did some design and landscaping in Cape Town, around Johannesburg, and some homes in London and in Surrey. I'll hand you over to the next.
So I'll take it. Thank you. Anyway, Brenden van Rooyen. I have over 25 years experience in construction, and especially around digital sustainability, doing things in modern ways and getting things done efficiently. I've worked with Hietesh in the past many times, so it's great to be doing a job with him. So over to you, Hietesh.
Hi, this is Hietesh this side. I'm a civil engineer by profession, and I technically I've reported into Brenden about 10, 11 years ago. So he was my boss back then. And that's one of the major reasons we are getting into a joint venture on this one, is where Brenden and Michelle come on board with hands-on experience on project management and delivering the jobs. So as a team, I feel the job would be a very easy one to deliver with everybody on board here. So yeah. Rajiv is in India, so this is odd hours for him, and he wouldn't have joined for anything at 11:30 in the night.
Excellent. No, I wasn't aware of the past relationship with yourself and Brenden, so it would have been interesting to have been a fly on the wall as you reported to Brenden. And he asked you to keep you on track. That would have been interesting, but we'll leave that for another night. Okay, as we get in now to the presentation about this project, just to remind everyone, we don't use the chat box. We use the Q&A function. So if you go down to the bottom of your screen along the toolbar, you'll see the Q&A. And if you pop your question in there, then Tony can monitor that. If it's relevant to ask, we'll as time allows, let Tony come in and ask some key questions. But we probably won't get a chance tonight to answer all the questions. But don't worry. We'll send an email out answering all the questions. So Michelle, Brenden, and Hietesh can answer the questions in writing, and we'll send that out to all the attendees with a copy of the recording tonight. So don't panic if your question isn't put to the project team tonight. So Tony can keep an eye on that, which is great. So let's get straight into this. So the project, first of all, why did you guys decide to get into a JV? Perhaps you just give that answer away, but do you want to comment on that?
Well, I'm more than happy to say that, in the past, it's actually been really great working with Hietesh, and especially the work that Curation Tech have done. And, collectively, we have delivered many projects together. And we felt that actually, this was a brilliant opportunity when we saw this land to say, why not, let's get on and do it, do something together, and we'll do it through this route. So that's why we've created this JV between our two companies, because we do complement each other very well.
Excellent. And Michelle, I'll ask you, so why this particular project? I'm sure you saw different locations and different possibilities, but what was the opportunity with this particular project that you liked?
I think the location is particularly important. It's walking distance to a beautiful town, and it's in a quiet residential road, and there's potential there for enough space, as I mentioned earlier, for an entire family to live. So a lot of really good points in terms of, I think, of an investment to sell.
Okay, excellent. And Hietesh, property crowdfunding, this is now your third raise that you've done on the platform. You've got one project almost about to complete and pay back in the next couple of months. So what is it about property crowdfunding that you like as a developer fundraiser?
I've said this before, and I can say this a million times more, that it's just the network with people that you meet through the process. And whenever there's a project that comes to us, which we feel that is an easy sell, and you can explain it very well to a larger crowd, I like to bring it onto the platform. It did not take too much convincing with Michelle and Brenden, to be honest. And I just discussed this with them, that this is what we do normally. We've done that on a couple of projects. Do you mind us crowdfunding a part of the senior debt development finance and just giving back a little to a set of investors? And they were more than happy to come on board on this one, because being equal partners on the job. And just to mention, we did not look at too many properties. This was a Friday evening discussion. Tuesday, we went and saw the site, and I think the bid got accepted. And that's how it happened. It was the only site that we saw, Michelle, at that point in time,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, I think the other thing is that, you know, it's we are putting a significant amount of money ourselves into this investment, and you know, reality is that we will be doing more through Leo crowdfunding, and this is an excellent opportunity which is low in risk that actually helps us, you know, just really sort of get the wheels in motion, actually provide that investor confidence. I mean, I know already with Hietesh has got, you know, previous investors from other crowdfunding routes, which have backed him. So, you know, it's about providing confidence to everybody out there that we can do this and we get those returns. And quite frankly, there is money sitting in the bank with bank rates as low as they are. This seems to be, you know, this is why we've invested as well, because you do get a good return.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just on that risk, that's a really good point you make there, Brenden. So, in terms of risk, you know, it is in the world of property, perhaps a low risk, and we can maybe define that. Obviously, investing in a crowdfunding platform is not the same as having money sit in the bank. I know you didn't mean it that way, but there is opportunity to deploy capital in property investment. So, what are the risks to the project, sort of high level? As the project owners, what do you see as the risks that are there with the project?
Risks for the investors, there are a couple of risks. Risk number one being we don't build it. Risk number two being we don't sell it. We don't build it is not an option because we have our own equity invested there. So that's if we don't sell it, we refinance it. There's no covenant on it. There's no SIL on it. So we can refinance it and just get our capital out, get the investors' money out. So a couple of risks, both mitigated. We have solutions for both the risks. We don't see any other. It's a straightforward deal, to be honest, David. It's with planning, piece of vacant plot. There's no possession on it. There's no encroachment on it. We just have to get the greens out. And there's no TPOs. There's no landscaping required at this point in time in terms of getting a conditions release. Nothing. Straightforward. Get the job done and come out of the site in about 6 months. This again, we are planning to do modern methods of construction, similar to Plough Hill in terms of getting timber frame, because it is a densely populated area where there are houses all around us. And this being a detached property with houses on both sides, actually on 3 sides, we are intending to do timber frames, getting it manufactured, sending it to the site, erected. So Michelle, Brenden and I, we've worked on the project schedule and the project plan on it at a very micro level.
There's a couple of images coming up with the actual location. So let's maybe hold that comment until the actual location slide. So in terms of that, you know, the high level location, obviously it's in Banbury. It's in halfway really between London and Birmingham, you could say, and it's actually in the village of Banbury itself. And obviously there's good transport links and things like that. So I mean, you want to, just in terms of the location, any observations or comments you want to make on the benefits of this area?
The actual location within itself is very, it's a well sought after area. There's been, you know, we're looking back at the previous sales. I mean, there hasn't really been homes on the market, so there is a need for those particular houses, and that was actually partly the main attractiveness from our side, knowing that the money we personally have invested in, we'll be able to get that back out. So resellability was absolutely key. And you know, the other thing that is really nice about it is it's a really lovely, I was going to say suburb, but it's a lovely area of Banbury, and so therefore, you know, it's targeting the family, it's targeting those particular individual, you know, those type of people where there is a shortage of that particular housing type in the area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I always like to look at transport links. You know, in the modern day, people are quite willing to commute, you know, substantial distances if the transport links are correct. So very easy access to the M40, you know, train link to London, and then things.
You're a 7-minute drive away from the station. Michelle and I, we did a couple of dry runs. You're about going to the station is easy because it's downhill. coming back is tough walking. So you're right next to the image that you've cut it off from. It's a very big Sainsbury right across the greens from that Hightown Leyes road. So it's a 2-minute walk from a nice big Sainsbury's. It's and the location is actually on the top right corner of where you can find the vacant plot, the garden, not at where the pin is, but on the top right. That's the actual location of the land.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great, and that gives people an idea of the benefit of the location. So, in a little bit, then describing the actual plot and the, as you say, the actual project itself.
Yeah. So it's the plot on the left of the house that you can see on the top right. The land marked in red. Yes, it's about 220 square meters of land. We're building about 1340 square feet, is what I understand at this point in time, and which does not include the rear extension, which is a PD, which we intend to do later on. There is a question. I'll answer that. I'll not wait for it to go in writing, but I'll answer that. It has full planning in place, conditions to be released. There are pre-commencement drawings. We have already instructed an architect. The architect is same, Jonathan Darcy, who's worked with us on Plough Hill View. So must have heard of him before from me, but he is working on the pre-commencement drawings and getting the conditions released. Brendan's worked on the material selection so far. So we are through with the project in terms of pre-commencement stage.
Okay, and this is a purchase from auction?
Yes, this is a purchase from auction.
Yeah, okay,
yes.
I'm fine on that. Yes, okay. Tony, do you want to jump in with that question, and we'll maybe deal with that quickly now because it's relevant to, I think, where we are.
Yes, it says, are there any risks in regards to recent increase in steelwork?
No, already been captured in the cost plan so far, and the only steel that we intend to use is in the subgrade, is in the substructure, sorry. Everything else will be timber frame, and we're trying to reduce the quantum of steel and concrete on site because it'll be difficult to handle. The construction management plan, which is being developed by Brenden at this point in time, does capture that as well.
Okay, and then you've got an agreement in place with the senior lender to help with the purchase and, of course, the construction. Yeah.
So they are pitching in with about 35% of the purchase price and 100% development. We're trying to reduce the development borrowing from them through this crowdfunding raise.
Excellent. Okay, so probably more for Michelle and Brenden then, in terms of the design of the property, particularly the interior. What's your plans for this one?
You can go for it. Yeah, you're the interior designer.
I think it's to make it as practical and as modern in terms of technology as possible. So again, looking at things around storage, around movement in the house, and obviously also looking at the house extending out into the garden, that they're functional spaces within that. And utilizing, obviously, the digital technology that's available now. So basically smart living.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, do you remember one of the other things that we've committed to is about this being, making sure that it is was done in an environmental way. Because we as as Hightown Leyes is very committed to the environment. So we will have electric charge points, for cars. We have got the use of the there will be smart technologies because everybody who comes in to a home expects there to be elements around that. I mean, I can certainly say from our perspective, every element of this house that we're in has tested every single one of these technologies that's going in. So we're absolutely familiar with that. But there's no point in just having a house full of tech. It's got to be functional, and that's absolutely where Michelle comes in and keeps me in check in terms of the layouts, the way things are done, because as she's often says to me, that it's about practical living. And you want to make a home that is practical around that.
And also future proofing that. So looking at if you're requiring not to be able to use your staircase, your child's broken their leg or whatever, that you have got the room and the facilities downstairs to accommodate that. And that actually brings me, from I'm an occupational therapist by profession. So I'm putting all those practical strategies actually into the environment, which is what we train to do as well.
Excellent. Okay, no, that's fantastic. If you ever need another house to test any latest smart technology, I'm sure my wife Brenda would be more than happy to test them out for you. So fire them over here and we'll install them. So Hietesh, I know you're very passionate about the home fresh technology and what that brings to the table, just in terms of benefits to your property like this. So do you want to briefly explain that? There's obviously more information in the equity offer document, but just maybe in a sentence or so, just cover that.
It's a very straightforward technology application on your paint and plaster, where it's anti-mold and antifungal, and they've recently tested that they are effective against COVID as a drug. It's all over the internet. If you Google microfresh, so the application is successful. They've done it in offices for X number of years. They've used it in rubber soles for shoes as well. They've used it with Nike and Adidas in terms of sportswear. And recently, the Home Fresh product, which was launched, I think last year, before Plough Review was launched, they came out with a product which could be mixed in paints, which we're using in Plough Review. So technical aspects and certifications, read the offer document and you can read their website. It's not a product that I sell. I just buy it and apply it. So, but that's about Home Fresh, yes. Few questions again. Do we intend to answer them right now or later?
I think we'll leave them to the end. We'll do the financials first, and then we'll let Tony do a wrap up of the questions that are there, I think. Financials then. Just again, these webinars are not designed to drill down into every aspect of the financials. Obviously, it takes time to read through them, and no doubt questions can arise. So you have the forums that you can use on the homepage, on the pitch pages, and you can ask your questions, and Hietesh and Michelle and Brenden can answer those questions on the forum for you as required. But just to hit sort of the high level points, you can see the GDV there. You can see the purchase price from the auction and the closing costs, if you like, all there at 126,850. And again, a really important point, which Brenden mentioned, as did Hietesh, that the project team, so the people that you see on the screen tonight, have effectively put their money up to make the purchase along with some senior debt. So they're not coming to the crowd for the purchase. They have their own skin in the game to buy the property. Really what the fundraise for on the platform is for obviously getting the project actually started. There'll be some site clearance, there'll be some professional fees, obviously, to kickstart the project, and that's what the crowd raise is for. So it's important just to note that. So down the right hand side is the main bullet point. You can see the total construction agreements in place for the senior debt, and along the bottom there you can see profit on cost on the project, 24.58%. So a nice healthy profit on cost for people who like to have their percentages in place. So the equity offer document will break this down in much more detail, but the key figure there, so the net profit on the project, estimated, projected at around about 89,000 at the current time. So how does that work in terms of crowd investment? Well, you can see there, the main target figure is 88,000 is what the team are going for. And you can see then down the right hand side, the projected return is 20% per annum. Now, if it takes 7 months, obviously that's a pro rata on the 20%. So there'll be shares issued in the SPV. The minimum investment amount, which is the same as the minimum share price, or the share price is £100. So that's the minimum amount can be invested. So if the full raise as projected was achieved, then that would be a profit share of around 24.7%. Okay, so that's how it's obviously expressed. So if the full happened to be 110 raised, then that would be 132,000 coming back to the investors. And that would obviously represent a 20% per annum return on the money pro rata. So that's kind of the summary of the financials. If there are any questions on that, then by all means drop a quick message in the chat box. And of course, the equity offer document does go in more detail. So we'll do the exit strategy and then we'll go to the questions. So just to highlight, what are the exit strategies?
Plain and simple, sale of the property. And to be honest, just to emphasize on that, we are looking at selling the property while we're constructing it. We have a few interested parties that we intend to speak with once more detailing in terms of design is ready. We want to create a more build to suit bespoke kind of a house for a family that has committed to us beforehand. So the sale should be sorted through that. Yes, and otherwise it's a refinance by the end of 6 or 7 months. Once the PC is, once we achieve practical completion and we don't make a sale happen, then we'll make sure that the refinance option kicks in. Yeah.
Okay. So 2 clear exit strategies, both of which should be achievable in any type of a normal market. And then obviously there's a projected ROI, which is based on the net profit. Now, what is important to note is that the crowd investors get paid before the A shareholders. So the profit that is projected to go to the investors, whatever profit is there out of the project, the investors get paid first at their projected rate, and only after that do Hietesh, Michelle, and Brenden get their share. So that is important to note. It is a priority share. Let's take questions quickly now, and then we've got another 5 minutes or so of the broadcast. So Tony, you want to come with those questions, please?
Yeah, I think these are just questions of clarity, actually, Hietesh. So the first one was asking about the extension that will be constructed later. I believe that's how you phrased it.
Yeah. So this is the conservatory, which is not a part of the planning. It's a part of the permitted development that once the PC is received, you can do after that, the extension of the conservatory, which is not a part of the 1340 square feet that we mentioned. That's what I meant, on the ground floor towards the garden space. And that is purely dependent upon who we sell it to, whether they need it from us or whether they want to build it themselves.
Okay. And again, a question of clarity on the return of capital here.
Either sold or refinanced. That's the trigger point.
Yes.
Not when
I think they're concerned about at what stage they get the investment capital returned.
Yeah. So just 2 trigger points. Either we sell it or we refinance it.
Okay. 2 more have just come up actually as I was speaking.
Yeah.
So what's the fee breakdown for each of the joint venture parties? I know a finder's fee and a project manager fee amongst others. Are these fees effectively being paid to the fundraisers themselves? So
I know the finder fee is a little, it includes the reservation fees, which is about 7,000 in this regard. The clarity has been given to even the platform asked this question. So there's nothing of the finder fee that we're taking. Project manager fee, we're taking nothing. There's about, I think, 8,000. David, if I'm not wrong, 7,000 or 8,000 that has been incorporated for an on-site project manager. That's not for us. That's not for the fundraisers.
Okay, and just quickly then on the whether there's any potential buyers at this stage.
Has that been advertised? And yes and no. Potential buyers, yes, through my contacts and network. A couple of people who visited the site already. They've been wanting to give an offer. So I won't entirely say that's incorrect. So we do have interest in the market, but we haven't really appointed an agent as of now. We're talking to a couple of the agents, but this will be a 1 agent show. We won't have like 4 or 5 agents advertising the product.
Okay, probably a question for you here, Brenden. Do all these high-tech features really add value to the property? And are other properties in the area built to this high spec?
So when you say to the high spec, in terms of finish, it is part of the planning condition that we produce a house to the same standard look as those that are there. But to answer your question specifically about do high-tech features add value, I think that's, you know, in all honesty, I think a lot of this is probably about conscience, in so much as that it's really interesting. A lot of the properties that I've done in the past, we are actually being asked for these features, like having, you know, electric charge points, about making sure that you've got the ability to have proper broadband, you know, internet access, to make sure that you've actually got, you know, those technologies.
Smart switches, smart sockets, timers.
It's all
inbuilt.
It's people expect that, and actually, you know, I think it's the right thing to do, to make sure that we can build, you know, using and making sure that people have got the stuff available for them, and makes them more sellable.
Yeah, and I think it's getting a balance between people who are now probably more working from home and families all together. So we're needing access to that in homes, which we wouldn't have maybe seen to the extent that we did maybe a year, 18 months ago. So yes, it's making them modern and future for the future.
Adding value has two faces. One is sellability, the other is actual value in sterling pound terms. So technology is not always expensive. I keep repeating this, and that's why the asking price cannot be more than what your neighbor is selling at, to a certain extent. Saleability is what the value addition is for adding technology to your houses. You sell quickly, and that's what you need. You need an early exit. You don't care whether we make X profit or Y profit. We need an early exit to give you guys an exit. So
that's a really good point. Okay, so last question for tonight, because time has really begun to beat us, and I promised everyone that we would be over in good time. Yeah, the other one, the second question, we're going to answer now anyway. Some of the other projects have been done, but Tony, you want to ask that last one about the extension? I think it's a really good question to ask, and then that'll do for the questions tonight.
Yeah, just clarity again, Hitesh, is the return based on the extension being built?
Nope. NO. Construction cost is based on 1340, and the GDV sale price is based on the house as it stands in planning.
And have you factored in COVID?
I can definitely answer that. I suppose, you know, the reality is I've got really good finger on the pulse of the supply chain. In my other bit of my life, I deal with this day in, day out. So, you know, I'm fully aware of where we sit in terms of materials, capacity in the supply chain. And one of our key things is going to be able to source, is our sourcing strategy and getting this early in place. The last project we did, Michelle, was absolutely excellent on the sourcing side, delivered during COVID-19, as well as post now with when there was capacity issues.
Excellent. Okay, no, that leads on nicely then, just really to the sort of wrap up slides from Michelle and Hietesh. So track record, a few questions come in there. So sort of in brief summary, Michelle, this is I think one of the last projects that you did. You want to describe this project sort of in terms of the high level of what it was and what you achieved?
Yeah, as you can see there, a family home, open plan, kitchen, refurbing parts of it as well that had needed a lot of attention, creating spacious movement. A part of that bathroom at the top there was actually in the loft, so making use of small spaces to put as much utility in as possible without cramping it. That project also had some landscaping needs in the front. Actually, this particular family, because of the landscaping, you can see there on the right-hand side, pond extensions, and they actually are beekeepers. So we even managed to deck the front out for that environmental bonus of giving them the space to be able to do what they needed.
Excellent. Okay, and this was a refurb from a dwelling?
Yeah, it was a £300,000 refurb of a 1950s home, which hadn't had anything done to it, to be quite honest with you. But
okay. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, and obviously there's more details on this project in the offer document. So, wrong way. So Hietesh, obviously you've done some projects or involved in projects. This is probably one of the ones that are almost complete. You want to take 20 seconds on a quick overview on this one.
0.2 acres, 5 houses being built. Did 100,000 raise on the crowdfunding platform for them. We're 90% through. The image is 2 weeks old. We have the cladding now on site installed, and the houses look absolutely phenomenal from the outside. Even the landscaping is taking shape now. So this is up in Coventry, Nuneaton, with a GDV of about 1.96 million. GDV is increased from what it was, is because we've added the 4th bedroom to the loft on the 4 houses. That's it. That's 20 seconds.
Yeah, so you've both done projects, but this is the first time you've worked together. I think there was a question on that earlier. So this, although you've worked on other projects, but in terms of this current JV partnership, this is the first time you've done it.
This is the first time we're both putting skin in the game to get to live collectively. Yes.
Now we put flesh in the game before. We've built data centers.
We
before.
have actually.
Yeah. So.
Very good. Okay, so let me take a few minutes now to wrap up, and then I'll give each of you 30 seconds to finish off. So for anyone who's on the webinar tonight, you of course go to our homepage. You'll see the view deal thumbnail. What that means is you can access all the information to review it. You can't actually make an investment yet because this project goes live next Thursday at 12 noon. Now, your last project, Hietesh, funded from memory about 8 hours. I'm not saying that all projects fund that quickly, but the reality is that some do. So if you are interested in this project, then I would certainly say you need to be aware of what's happening at 12 noon. Keep an eye on how the amount is ticking up, so that you're aware when it's getting near its maximum. There's no point in coming back 2 or 3 days later if it does happen to fund sooner. So that's just for people to be aware of. The key document is on the right hand side. It's the equity offer document. You can download it from the pitch pages, and this will give you all the information in detail, annexes, the what we call material statements, evidence. So the senior debt information, the purchase contract, etc., etc. It's all there in the document. So that's the document to get a hold of. Very important for the preparation of going live. When you go on the pitch pages, you're able to leave an email address and an amount that you may be interested in investing. Now, this is not committing you to anything, but it does let us know people who are intending to invest or seriously considering investing, and that way we can communicate with you via email. So we don't like to spam anybody. We don't like to just email out to our database constantly. But if you leave an email address, then we know we can send you information about the project, and that'll be relevant to you. You also can go on the forum, leave any questions you have there, and we'll be able to answer those as well. So a very quick fly through for any new people on the webinar tonight. If you go to our homepage, top right hand corner is where you register to be an investor on the platform. And what's very important to note is it's not just registering, you must be investor ready. So after the initial registration process of a name, a confirmation email, and then you become registered, you'll see top right hand side of the screen, then you'll have an account. Then you move through what we call the investor readiness process. So the first thing that happens is you have to answer some questions by way of an appropriateness test. This is to confirm that you understand the nature of this type of investment, that capital is at risk. You can't just wake up in 2 weeks' time and ask for your money back. It's obviously deployed in the project. It's therefore no longer liquid. So let's just make sure that you understand the nature of this type of investing. You then have to designate if you are an individual or a company, and then whether you're a restricted investor, a high net worth investor, or a sophisticated investor. You've got to designate that so we understand the type of investor that we have on the platform and interested in this deal, and obviously that you've read the terms and conditions. Then you move on to your KYC, your anti-money laundering, proof of address, and then you'll receive an email that tells you that you're investor ready. What that means is that if you choose to invest, you can now invest. Until you receive that email, then you're not investor ready. So we're just making that point very, very clear. And then what happens is you can go on and invest, select an amount that you want to invest, confirm the amount, and choose a payment method, either by transferring to the e-wallet or moving it direct from your bank to the project e-wallet. through a unique reference code. So you can choose either way. And that really is the process. Any questions, of course, you can go back to us on it. So just by way of summary, there's a JV partnership between Hietesh and Michelle and Brenden. It's a 20% per annum projected return, estimated 7 months project, full planning approval, senior debts lined up, and we go live next Thursday, the 15th. So I'll give a quick 30-second roundup from each of you, and then we can end the webinar.
Well, I'm happy to go. Really actually looking forward to doing this project. And, you know, say the main thing here is actually we've invested a good sum of money ourselves into this project, and actually we're using this as an opportunity to, you know, to just allow others actually really understand what it is all about in property development.
Yeah, and I think in presenting it in a way that's a modern standard, and at the same time being practical and attractive inside and out.
Hitesh?
Open to questions, if any. I'm ready to answer those in the coming few days before the launch. So let's get this race done.
Excellent. Okay, so if you have any questions, Hitesh says, get them on the forum, and we'll be able to answer them. And the ones tonight we can certainly put out to everyone. So listen, thanks everyone for joining us. This has been recorded, so we'll email everyone a copy of the recording so you can go back through it. Any questions, support@leocrowdfunding.com. And with that, let me thank Michelle, Brenden, and Hitesh for joining us tonight. And I suppose all that remains now is to wish England all the best, and hope they get through tonight and enjoy a successful final. So with that,
Absolutely.
let everyone go. All the best. Thank you for joining us.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you
for having us, David.
Thank
Bye.
you.
David.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Tony.
Thanks, Tony. Bye-bye.
Cheers,
Bye.
Tony.